Thank you, Bill. I've been up here for a number of years presenting and recognizing the inductees for the Trenton Sports Hall of Fame. And I think it's a pretty important accomplishment and award. There's certain criteria, and it's on the tables. There's some pamphlets on the tables. And over the course of years, a number of things have kind of driven, I think as you look at the inductees, you'll see that all of them have outstanding accomplishments and achievements. But in the last few years, I think you'll see that part of the criteria that says brings honor and recognition to the community of Trenton has been probably one of the, you can turn it on, that's okay. But bringing honor and recognition to the community of Trenton has been something that the committee has looked at in addition to the individual accomplishments. If you look through that Hall of Fame inductees brochure, you'll see many legends, all of them with outstanding success and accomplishments. And many of those names that you see there, you've read in the newspapers over and over and over, and well deserved. But tonight we're going to recognize two more legends, but you may not have seen their names in the papers. The educational system our kids get in Trenton here has been a pretty good one. And the formative years can be different and argued when they are the most important. But one thing that is not arguable, middle school children, as a group, are difficult. And our Hall of Fame inductees this year have spent their careers coaching, working with, counseling, teaching, molding our middle school students towards a path of productive success, toward a path to be a productive, successful adult. Now, all of us that have children that have gone through the middle school years probably have had a few difficult times, but how would you like to volunteer to take everybody's middle school kid for the next 25 to 30 years? I don't think we get too many volunteers. Many of the predecessors of this year's inductees can credit some of their own coaching success to our inductees tonight. Those inductees are Barb Little and Joan Biedenbach. And let me first talk a little bit about Barb. I'm very honored to introduce and to tell you a little bit about the two people. The first one is Barb Little. And what I'd like to do is read excerpts of some of the letters that came with her nomination. Unfortunately, even my cheaters, I have to get closer to. It is truly my pleasure to write this letter of support for the nomination of Mrs. Barb Little to the Trenton Sports Hall of Fame. I've known Mrs. Little for the past 11 years and can think of few people with the commitment to work year after year with some of the most difficult age athletes. Barb did so not only for the love of the sport, but also for the love of the kids. Volleyball and softball drew large numbers of girls, and Mrs. Little often coached multiple volleyball teams and shared the duties for coaching the combined softball team on top of her primary teams during each season. She did this to avoid having to turn girls away from what was often their first attempt to play organized competitive sports. Besides the fact that our teams were very successful, I was most comfortable knowing that Mrs. Little was working with our girls. She had a passion for teaching that surpassed the athletic field and made a positive impact on all the girls she worked with. Like all great coaches, she attempted to teach lessons that transcended athletics and applied to life. There was a time when, over at the middle school, they only had one diamond. And when Barb and Joan both approached the schools to add fields, they were told, like most people are when they approach the schools, the school district, the school administrators, we don't have any money, sorry. The answer's no. But they didn't give up, and the ladies approached this principal with that idea, but at the time they had no funds for the new field, so they were turned away. But Mrs. Little and Mrs. Biedenbach found a builder that they convinced to donate all the time and the materials needed, and so that second field was constructed over there because of them, and because of their teams and their love of the kids. When Mrs. Little determined that we needed more supplies for softball because of the large number of girls on the team, I had nearly exhausted my athletic budget for the year. Undeterred, Mrs. Little and Mrs. Biedenbach and I drove to a local athletic supply store, and the ladies were able to convince the owner to discount almost all of the items so they were able to outfit the extra team. One of the reasons the middle school athletics were so successful compared to many middle school programs was the fact that we had varsity level coaches working with our athletes. Mrs. Little is an example of this type of coach. Besides coaching, she has worked as a referee at the state championship volleyball competition, but more frequently was found officiating middle school games. Barb told me she liked doing these games more because we were able to teach the game to the girls as a referee too. There were several times when high school positions became available, and I was always pleased when Mrs. Little passed on them, saying, "I like working with this age girl." That's saying a lot about her character, patience, and passion for working with these young kids. That was just one of the letters. I grew up in Trenton, so I had firsthand knowledge of the standards expected in the area of education and sports. Raising a daughter in the Gibraltar School District, I thought expectations in regard to team sports, as had many other things, had changed. We moved back to Trenton in 1989, where I quickly learned I had been mistaken. The new philosophy was not just about winning, but also how you played the game. Mrs. Little, along with Mrs. Biedenbach, were the first coaches in Trenton to show me there was still an appreciation for the aspect of teamwork and the importance of the child as an individual, and not just how their contribution impacted the team. She treated star and struggler alike. She was tough but fair, and her expectations were known and respected by the players and their parents. We also knew that the title of student athlete meant just that. You were a student first and an athlete second. Get bad grades or act out in school, you rode the bench. She didn't care how good you were or how great your contributions to the team might be. Having friends with younger children, I went to many games after my daughter left the middle school. I saw the attitude of a lot of parents change. Their disregard and sometimes disrespect of their daughter's coaches was something I had real difficulty with. Mrs. Little handled it with grace, charm, and humor. Her coaching ethics remained impressive. Even as the pressure to win increased, she continued to teach her players there was no I in team, and that how you played the game, treated your teammates and opponents was more important than wins and losses. And she never wavered from her stand that the players were students first. And so I'd like to introduce first Mrs. Barb.
Thank you so much. I listened to everything that they said, and I'm thinking, wow, that's wonderful. I can't thank you enough. I'd like to thank the committee for electing me into a very prestigious group of people. If you read the list of the members of this Trenton Hall of Fame, and they're just wonderful, wonderful people. The city of Trenton was kind enough to give me the opportunity to coach all these young ladies, and it was a true, true blessing. I will never be able to thank them enough. It was an opportunity that I was asked to do, and I said, let's do it. And 25, 30 years later, that was fun. We had a lot of fun. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, I've been officiating 32 years now, and that has also been a joy working with the young people. But there's a saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And to be honest with you, I've never worked a day in my life at all. Thank you so much.